This adventurous story begins by introducing a lady named Lewis, who had recently given birth to a child. However, within a few years, Lewis discovered that her child had cancer, and within a short period, her child passed away. Lewis could not understand why all these things were happening to her, but the reality was that she had not even been married yet. How did this child appear in her visions? Lewis was completely confused about whether these things were her past or her future because, at the moment, she was neither in a relationship with anyone nor had a child. Lewis tried to dismiss these things as a bad dream and forget about them. The next day, she went to her university to teach children. Lewis was a linguistics teacher, which meant that she knew many different languages. She could understand them well and respond accordingly. While teaching in class, Lewis learned from the news that many alien spaceships had arrived on Earth and were spreading across different countries in large numbers. These alien spaceships were enormous, but for some unknown reason, they had come to Earth in a mysterious manner and were hovering just above the planet. The surprising thing was that no aliens were emerging from the spaceships. They had become stable in their positions in the air. People were so scared by these events that they began to evacuate places. All governments and military forces were a bit confused because if these spaceships had come to Earth to harm humans, they had not yet taken any action. No one had even emerged from the spaceships. What was the reason behind all these events? Investigations into this continued. Lewis finished her classes at the university and returned home to watch the news about the aliens on TV. A total of 20 alien spaceships had arrived on Earth, spreading across all countries. However, there was still no information about what was inside the spaceships. The next day, when Lewis went to her university, she found that no students had come because everyone was so scared of the alien spaceships that they had quarantined themselves. Lewis, despite not wanting to, had to work from home. She was also a little scared, wondering what these spaceships wanted. Just then, a military colonel arrived at Lewis's home, seeking her urgent assistance. Lewis had a unique talent for understanding and interpreting various languages, and she had previously assisted the military on a mission using this skill. Now, the colonel came to seek her help in communicating with the aliens. He played a recording of the alien voices for Lewis. Lewis was astonished because she had never heard such a language before. The colonel wanted Lewis to decode these alien voices and figure out what the aliens wanted from them. Lewis told the colonel that if she needed to learn this language, she would have to be taken to the place where communication attempts with the aliens were being made. Initially, the colonel was reluctant to let a civilian know about these secrets, but he soon realized that Lewis might be the person who could provide a solution to this problem. At night, the colonel arrived with a military helicopter to pick up Lewis. Inside the helicopter, Lewis met a man named Ivan, a biologist who would be assisting her on this mission. In no time, they reached the location where the spaceship was stationed. Before entering, everyone was equipped with radioactive space suits to protect their bodies from any harm. As they approached the spaceship, Ivan and Lewis noticed that gravity seemed to be reversed. Just as gravity on Earth pulls things down, there was no gravity inside the spaceship, causing them to float upwards as soon as they entered. Lewis and her team quickly reached the internal area of the spaceship, where there was a huge white screen, possibly where the aliens could be present. At that moment, they saw very strange aliens there. These aliens did not have any proper body structure. Instead, they had large tentacles spreading in all directions. Lewis couldn't believe her eyes, seeing such aliens, and was utterly at a loss about how to communicate with them. The aliens didn't know their language, nor did Lewis's team understand the aliens' language. So, after their initial research, Lewis and her team descended from the spaceship. They reported their observations to the military officers, who then shared the information with others. Lewis learned that the countries with these spaceships were also trying to communicate with the aliens. All these countries connected to share data and reports periodically, creating an intercontinental collaboration. The next time Lewis went back to further her research, she took a whiteboard with her to communicate with the aliens in written form. Upon entering, Lewis wrote "humans" on the whiteboard in front of the aliens. Seeing this, the aliens used their tentacles to draw some circular signs. Lewis realized that just as they represented their language in English, the aliens had their own language structured in a circular format. The aliens seemed to be responding, but their language was incomprehensible to humans. Lewis captured all these symbols carefully and, upon returning, showed them to everyone, who then attempted to decode what the aliens were trying to convey. Even after investing many hours, Lewis couldn't decipher what those circular images meant or what the aliens wanted to communicate. For now, these things remained a mystery. Lewis's team was busy collecting information inside the spaceship. But this time, Lewis knew that the current methods wouldn't work. So she wrote her name on the whiteboard and showed it to the aliens, who once again created a circular sign. This meant that it was their name in their language. Summoning up courage, Lewis removed her radioactive suit because she knew that there was not only gravity, but also oxygen present in this place. As soon as she removed the suit, nothing happened to her, and she walked directly in front of the aliens to show herself, ensuring them that they posed no threat. Seeing Lewis, Ivan did the same and removed his radioactive suit. He also wrote his name on the whiteboard and showed it to the aliens. Inside the spaceship, there were other aliens as well, who displayed their names in a circular form. Lewis and Ivan were happy to see that the aliens believed in communication rather than exterminating the human race. Continuing their research in this manner, Lewis and Ivan began understanding the symbols shown by the aliens. Lewis created a data set of all the symbols provided by the aliens and took it with her every day to expand her data set. Over a month passed, and Lewis began to understand the aliens' language bit by bit after collecting so many symbols. She translated every part of the alien language into English, forming long sentences when combined. The other countries trying to communicate with the alien spaceship were getting no results and were relying on Lewis to find a solution. Even though Lewis was doing her work diligently, she kept having a recurring vision where her daughter died of cancer, leaving her completely alone. She couldn't understand why she was seeing these things. After many days of research, the day finally came when Lewis would ask the aliens why they came to Earth. After writing this on the whiteboard, the aliens responded in a circular form. By inputting this into the dataset Lewis had created and decoding it, it became clear that the aliens wanted to say, "Use weapon." This statement frightens Lewis a little. She feels that there might be some problem with her database, and it's also possible that in the alien language, weapon means something else. However, the Colonel explains that if the meaning is indeed what they think it is, then humans are in grave danger. The Colonel and the rest of the team interpret "use weapon" as the aliens wanting to fight with humans and take over Earth. As this information gradually reached other countries, they were completely terrified. To protect their citizens, they rebelled against the aliens. The intercontinental information sharing process was completely halted. Every country started preparing its military forces to destroy the alien spaceships, creating a dangerous atmosphere everywhere. China decided to attack the spaceships first, summoning all its forces to destroy them. Witnessing China's aggressive behavior, all other countries severed ties and began planning to destroy the spaceships in their own way. Lewis and Ivan were completely perplexed about how to find a solution to all these issues, so they took their team and approached the aliens once again. Lewis asked them in their language what weapon truly meant and what they wanted from them. The aliens replied again in circular forms, but this time they created a large number of very small circles. Decoding all these circles at once was not possible, so Ivan and Lewis captured all the data and handed it over for further processing. Both were extremely confused about the meaning. The shocking news was that US military soldiers had placed a time bomb under the spaceship present in their country to destroy it. Ivan and Louis were still inside the spaceship communicating with the aliens, but the aliens had learned about the time bomb. As a result, they started behaving very strangely, and there was very little time left before the bomb exploded. To save Louis and Ivan's lives, the aliens pushed them away from the spaceship. The bomb then exploded. However, the explosion didn't have much effect on the spaceship. But after the blast, the aliens understood that humans were attacking them, so they moved their spaceship a little higher off the ground, where no human could easily reach. Now, the US military and all the countries felt that the aliens had realized they were under attack and would retaliate. After knowing this, all the countries became even more frightened and wanted to destroy the alien spaceship before they could launch an attack. China was at the forefront, with their president declaring that they would not listen to anyone and would destroy the spaceship with the help of their military forces. The US colonel could do nothing about all these things because he was helpless, and now the US military would do whatever it deemed appropriate. Meanwhile, Louis and Ivan continued working in their laboratory, decoding the symbols the aliens had created. After several hours of continuous decoding, Ivan finally got an idea of what the aliens wanted to convey. The small symbols made by the aliens represented our countries. The aliens meant that all of us needed to work together to avoid significant problems. Ivan noticed the 20 circles among all the circles, which dictated the spaceships currently present in different countries. This meant that the aliens were not here to fight us, but to deliver a message that all countries must unite and work together. Louis also understood this, but she was still troubled by the visions she kept experiencing repeatedly, visions that had no connection to reality. Louis was completely baffled as to why she was having the same vision repeatedly, especially one that didn't seem related to reality. She was unsure of what to do in all these situations. Louis took the initiative and went to the colonel to tell him that they needed to reconnect all the continents and countries to tackle these issues. But now, the colonel said that doing such things was impossible. Because all the countries wanted to destroy the spaceships in their own way, no one could stop them now. Louis was also completely helpless, but suddenly she had another vision in which she saw a small escape pod coming out from inside the large spaceship and landing on the ground. When Louis went outside to check, she realized that it had happened in reality. A small escape pod had indeed emerged from the large spaceship. Louis immediately got into the escape pod, which took her inside the spaceship. Now, only Louis was present inside the spaceship, and she went directly to the large aliens. Louis saw that now only one alien was left. Perhaps one alien had died in the explosion. Louis began to ask the remaining alien what weapon meant and what they were trying to tell us. At this moment, Louis had started to understand the alien's language quite well. The alien, seeing Louis looking so frightened, told her in sign language that weapon meant gift. Use weapon directly meant use this gift. Louis still couldn't fully understand what they were trying to say. Then the remaining alien explained that the gift was nothing but their language. The truth was that the alien's language was a different type of time machine device. If humans could understand the alien's language well and come together, they could advance their civilization. Louis learned that the aliens were trying to convey that many thousands of years later, Earth would be in danger, and aliens even more dangerous than them would come to attack. If humans did not develop together, it would lead to the end of Earth and the human species. That's why the aliens had come to promote human development and unity. The aliens chose Louis because she had strange powers within her. She could somehow see the future like the aliens. These things were only possible due to the aliens' language because, with the help of their language, the aliens could not only live in the present. But they could also know about the past and future simultaneously, and this was the ability they wanted humans to discover as well. After understanding everything, the alien left and safely sent Lewis back to the ground. Lewis understood everything now. Just as humans have a language and a time frame in which we can only live in the present, those aliens lived in a different dimension, allowing them to see their past, future, and present all at once. The visions Lewis experienced were actually glimpses of her future, and because of these abilities, the aliens had chosen her and shared everything with her. Suddenly, Lewis had another vision where she imagined herself at a party. At the party, the president of China appeared, looking very pleased as he shook hands with Lewis. The president thanked Lewis, saying that it was fortunate she had called him and said those words his dying wife had once said to him, or he wouldn't have realized his mistake. This meant that the president of China understood only after Lewis explained it to him, and he stopped his country's military from continuing the war. Lewis realized that these were events from her future, and she now knew what she had to do to resolve everything. She quickly noted down the president's number and listened to all the words she had spoken to him in the future. Returning to the present, Lewis understood that she was the only person who could stop this war. She immediately dialed the president's number and repeated everything she had said to him in the future. As a result, the president of China understood everything and stopped the war. Seeing China's behavior, all the other countries also calmed down and decided to provide intercontinental information together, meaning they would now remain united in all these matters. The good news was that all the spaceships present in different countries began moving toward the sky and into space. This meant they had all done their work well, and everything was back to normal. Lewis, having understood the alien language thoroughly, wrote a book on it so that the human race could comprehend it better. Eventually, the visions Lewis used to see began to manifest in reality. Lewis had a very lovely child, but she knew that this child would have cancer and would die. When she saw the child's father, it turned out to be Ivan. Despite knowing the reality, she began to live through these experiences well because that was her destiny. And with this, our story comes to an end.